Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting really well informed on the biggest global and Indian economic market and geopolitical moves from, well, just the last 24 hours. Today is Friday, August 15th, 2025. And our mission, like always, is to cut through all that noise, pull out the surprising facts, and give you the context you actually need, to understand what's really shaping things right now.
And it's been quite a 24 hours, hasn't it? The headlines are definitely buzzing. You can really see how interconnected everything is, global events, local impacts. It's all happening.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with some pretty jolting news out of the U.S. The Producer Price Index, the PPI, for July just landed.
Ah, yes, the wholesale prices.
Exactly. And they jumped 0.9% just month on month. That's the fastest climb since May 2022, I believe.
That's right. A really significant jump.
Feels like a bit of a spanner in the works for anyone hoping for quick interest rate cuts, doesn't it? How big a deal is this really, and what did the market make of it?
Oh, the market reaction was pretty much immediate and quite clear. You saw the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, both pulled back from those record highs they were hitting.
Right.
Because this hotter-than-expected data, it really did dim the hopes for a large Fed rate cut come September. A lot of investors were kind of counting on that. And, to add another layer, the core PPI, that's the one without food and energy, gives you a clearer underlying picture.
Yeah, the less volatile one.
Exactly. That also rose 0.6%. So it's not just a headline blip. And then you throw in the jobless claims data, they eased slightly down to 224,000.
So the labor market's still holding up?
Sort of. It suggests resilience, yeah. But it makes the Fed's job really tricky. You've got stubborn inflation and a reasonably strong job market. It's a tough balancing act.
So while traditional markets are getting jittery about the Fed, it looks like there's a whole different kind of drama over the digital asset world.
Oh, absolutely. A different world entirely right now.
Bitcoin hitting an all-time high, $124,000. That seems huge, especially given it's around 16x not that long ago.
It's staggering. And it's not just Bitcoin. Look at Ethereum. It's surged something like 41% this past month, really outpacing the rest of the crypto market.
So what's fueling that amidst all this caution elsewhere? Is it just speculation or something more?
Well, that's what's fascinating, isn't it? Well, the traditional guys are worried about inflation, this crypto surge. It suggests maybe a split, some capital flowing differently. It's maybe less about pure speculation now, and, maybe some investors are seeing digital assets as a kind of counter-cyclical bet.
A hedge against the traditional uncertainty.
Possibly a bold bet, definitely. But maybe a sign that some see it as a new kind of safe haven, or at least a hedge. It's definitely a shift in thinking for some.
Yeah.
And speaking of, huge shifts in thinking, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman made some pretty bold predictions recently.
About AI.
Yeah. He thinks AI-generated wealth could basically reshape the entire global economy. He's talking about a future needing things like universal basic income, maybe sovereign wealth funds, even negative interest rates, perhaps.
Wow. Universal basic income. That's a huge idea. So AI creates so much wealth, we need new ways to distribute it.
That's the core idea. It's a pretty profound vision. It's not just about the tech. It's about whether our current systems, jobs, taxes, everything are ready for that scale of change. His point, I think, is that these discussions, UBI and so on, they need to move from the fringes to the mainstream, urgently. Because the tech shift isn't way off in the future, it's happening.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. Forces us to rethink what value even means.
Exactly.
Okay, let's pivot now. Geopolitics. Things are getting really interesting there too, aren't they? What's the latest with the U.S. and Russia?
Well, former President Trump came out with a warning to Russia, said there'd be very severe consequences if they don't stop the war in Ukraine. This was after those recent summit talks up in Alaska.
Very severe. Okay.
But, and this is crucial context, there's also a highly controversial report going around. It suggests Mr. Trump might be considering, offering Russia access to Alaska's natural resources as a potential way to broker peace.
Access to Alaskan resources. Wow. That sounds explosive.
It's definitely sparked outrage from critics, yes,
Nice.
across the political spectrum. And it's really important we state clearly, we're just relaying what these sources are reporting, their claims. We're not endorsing any viewpoint here.
Understood. Just reporting the information out there. It certainly shows the kind of unconventional diplomacy being considered. Now, shifting focus a bit to India's position in all this, the Trump administration is reportedly putting tariffs on Indian exports.
Yes, that's being reported. And sources suggest it's potentially an attempt to pressure India on certain issues, like its imports of Russian oil.
And some sources are framing this, quite pointedly, as aiming for Pakistan-style compliance. That's a loaded term.
It is, and again, we're relaying the phrasing used in the sources, not endorsing the comparison or its validity. But that's the language being reported. India's response, though, has been very firm.
How so?
The IOC chairman, the Indian Oil Corporation chairman, basically said flat out, no pause on Russian oil imports. He stressed India's making these purchases based on economic rationale, prioritizing economic benefits.
So standing its ground.
Very much so. India sees these U.S. actions as impinging on its sovereignty. And look, at the same time, India is pushing hard to boost exports elsewhere. They're urging the UK to get that free trade deal done quickly, aiming to wrap up talks with the EU by year-end, too. It's a clear strategy. Diversify, strengthen other ties.
Makes sense. Sorting its own path. And adding another layer, Prime Minister Modi is heading to China soon.
That's right. An upcoming visit, seen as a calculated move, really, to try and foster some regional stability, maybe tackle those trade imbalances directly.
So diplomatic moves on multiple fronts. But regional tensions haven't just disappeared, have they?
No, definitely not. And that's the delicate balance, isn't it? You see Pakistan, for instance, recently awarded medals to civil and military officials for their roles in the recent conflict with India. It just highlights that these deep-seated historical and strategic issues, they're still very much present. Adds complexity to everything.
Right. Okay, let's bring it back home now to India's domestic economy. And there's some actually quite positive news here. Retail inflation.
Yes, a significant easing, down to 1.55% in July. That's an 8-year low.
An 8-year low. That's huge for consumers, surely. What does this mean for the RBI, the Reserve Bank?
It's definitely welcome news. For consumers, yes, it means their money goes a bit further. For policymakers, specifically the RBI, it gives them much more breathing room, flexibility. They might feel more comfortable supporting growth, maybe through more rate cuts if needed.
They've already cut rates quite a bit recently, haven't they?
They have a full percentage point, 100 basis points for the last 3 policy meetings. So this low inflation number, it gives them critical space to do more if the economy needs it, especially since India's long bond rally kind of stalled recently. Fiscal risks, waning demand, things like that. So this flexibility is key. It allows a potential shift towards prioritizing growth.
Got it. And on the eve of Independence Day, we heard from President Draupadi Murmu, quite an optimistic tone.
Very optimistic, yes.
Mm.
She spoke strongly about India's self-reliant journey at Manir Bharat and highlighted the economy's robust condition. And she had that call for citizens to go local, emphasize domestic production, domestic consumption.
How does the go local message fit into the bigger picture?
Well, it ties right into broader government strategies. Think about the tourism sector, for example. FFAITH, that's the Federation of Associations in Indian Tourism and Hospitality, they just had their conclave. They've set out this incredibly ambitious roadmap, a $3 trillion Indian tourism economy by 2047.
$3 trillion. Wow.
Yeah, aiming for 100 million international tourists and, get this, 20 billion domestic visits. So this push for domestic tourism alongside efforts to boost exports, ease business rules, it all points to this long-term vision of growth from within, leveraging services alongside manufacturing.
Okay, let's switch gears to the corporate world. A quick run through some results and news from the last day or so. Vodafone idea.
Yeah, V's Q1 results came out. The consolidated loss widened a bit to Rs 6,608 crore. But on the upside, revenue was up 5%, and ARPU average revenue per user hit Rs 177.
Mixed bag then. What about others? Any brighter spots?
Definitely. We saw some really positive numbers, too. Inox Wind, for instance, their Q1 profit more than doubled to Rs 97 crore. Nuvama Wealth thought profits grow 19% to Rs 264 crore. And Jubilant FoodWorks, their PAT, profit after tax, jumped 60% year-on-year.
60%. That's strong.
Very strong. Though, interestingly, some brokerages did trim their targets a bit despite that performance. And you also had Max Healthcare and M&M Mahindra among the large caps, showing really solid sales growth, over 20% in Q1, so resilience in different sectors.
Good to see. And other business headlines? Cognizant giving pay hikes.
Yeah, IT major Cognizant announced hikes for 80% of its staff. That's a positive signal for the tech sector workforce. And in the HR tech space, Darwin Box secured a good chunk of funding, $40 million from Canada's OTPP, the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. Shows continued investor confidence there.
Okay, and Air India Express is expanding routes.
Adding new flights to Ahmedabad, Chandigarh, and Dehradun starting in September, expanding their footprint.
Now, you mentioned something earlier about a Bitcoin miner pivoting. TerraWolf.
Right. This one's really interesting. TeraWulf stocks surged 22%. Why? Because they landed a $3.7 billion deal backed by Google for AI hosting. So this Bitcoin miner is strategically moving into high-performance computing for AI. Google's even taking an 8% equity stake.
So they're leveraging their infrastructure for AI. Smart move.
Seems like it. It's a really compelling example of how companies are pivoting towards AI-driven opportunities, capitalizing on emerging tech fast. On a slightly different note, Publicis is actually suing India's antitrust watchdog, the CCI.
Suing the Competition Commission. Why?
Apparently, they were denied access to case files in an ongoing probe into advertising agencies. So, Publicis is challenging that, raising questions about transparency in these regulatory processes.
Interesting. And speaking of transparency issues, Google's lobbying.
Yeah, this is a bit complex. Reports suggest Google has moved some of its in-house lobbyists over to a subsidiary. The effect, critics argue, is that it significantly reduces the amount of lobbying spending they have to disclose federally.
So fewer reported expenses, less transparency.
That's the argument from critics, yeah. Google insists they're just following the letter of the law. But it certainly raises questions about, the spirit of those disclosure rules versus just the technicalities.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground. Global finance, geopolitics, Indian economy, corporate news. It's also interconnected, but sometimes, the most thought-provoking things come from totally unexpected places. Maybe something outside the usual headlines.
Well, for a final, slightly quirky but maybe oddly relevant turn, let's talk about rabbits.
Rabbits. Okay, where are we going with this?
Fort Collins, Colorado. There are reports of these. Well, they're calling them nightmare rabbits.
Nightmare rabbits.
Yeah, wild rabbits showing these strange horn-like growths. It's caused by a virus, the Shulk papillomavirus. Now, the good news is it's harmless to humans. But it looks pretty bizarre, apparently spread by insects. Wildlife officials are saying, call them if you see one that needs help.
Horned rabbits in Colorado. Okay. So what's the takeaway here?
It's just unexpected, isn't it? A bizarre natural phenomenon popping up. Maybe it's just a strange little reminder that even in systems we think we understand, nature or even markets can throw up something completely unexpected, a weird anomaly that makes you stop and think.
A good reminder of unpredictability. So we've gone from U.S. inflation and crypto highs through geopolitical tensions and India's economic resilience, right down to corporate shifts and, yes, horned rabbits. We really hope this deep dive has helped you connect some of those dots quickly, giving you that comprehensive overview without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And maybe as you go about your day, carry this thought with you. All these different pieces we talked about, global trade friction, inflation numbers, AI predictions, diplomatic moves, even weird wildlife news, how do they actually fit together? How do they weave into this bigger tapestry of our interconnected world? And, what's our role as informed people in trying to understand those ripple effects? Keep asking questions, keep connecting those dots beyond just the headlines. Stay curious.